Welcome into another edition of Ask Glazer with Fox Sports NFL insider Jay Glazer. A formal
here's the deal. Here's the deal. Last week, I'm glad that we have this relationship now that we consider each other's feelings. Because last week I said, man, you got to dress a little bit better I'm coming in hot. You got to dress a little bit better. But then you show up like this.
I've got my Sunday best on.
But now you're outdoing me.
I know, right?
Like this is a tux. I can't beat that. So we got to get in the middle.
Should we get tails next week?
Okay, you got to get him. You got to get like from Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber with the top hats and the canes.
You got to get the Lloyd Christmas
just continually.
Yes.
If you want me to, I own a tux. I will bring in a real deal tuxedo. Mm-hmm. Maybe not next week.
Like a tux from like the 70s or a tux from now?
No, it's like a tasteful tux.
Not from like Something About Mary? Like when
no,
like,
not quite. Like, yeah, get the velvet bow tie or whatever. Yeah. All right. Enough about that. You guys have questions.
People like, shut up, just answer our football questions.
We've got the guy that can answer the questions. That's what we're here to do. Nothing more interesting to me than what happened over the weekend. A question from J.R. Perez. He wants to know about Jonathan Taylor, and I'm curious as well. About as contentious a relationship as I can remember goes to he's back, and oh, by the way, he's got a contract extension. Everything seems happy. What exactly happened in Indianapolis?
So let me back up. I was at Colts training camp when he had stepped away. I actually went in to give a mental health talk to the Colts. So shout out to them that they're doing a lot for sure trying to end the stigma. But that was right in the middle of it when it was going down. And at that time, in my mind, there was no way this relationship could get put back together. It was so contentious and bad because
that's what it seemed like.
And it was really with Jason Taylor and the owner, with Jim Irsay, and with Jonathan Taylor and Jim Irsay, and it just didn't look like anything could happen. So credit here to Jim Irsay, because it was Jim Irsay who realized, you know what, I've got to be the one to help repair this relationship. And he has. He's worked at it, trying to show them some love and show them how much they want him there, and at least put something back together. Because I think they also looked at it like, man, we have something special here in Anthony Richardson. If we could put something like the Jonathan Taylor pre-injury back there also, we could really have something special. So Jim Irsay did. He's got to give him some credit for kind of being able to check his ego. And you got to give Jonathan Taylor credit for being able to be open to it, to check his hurt feelings also. And in the end, once they saw him on Wednesday and said, okay, he's healthy again, let's get him done long-term. And they got him done long-term to a good deal, to a deal that most of these other running backs, I think, would have jumped at.
It seems like it worked out well for everybody, which, like you're saying, month and a half ago, I figure there's no way, absolutely no way.
A week and a half ago. But they also...
a week and a half ago.
Look, here's the thing. Every time I came on Fox and I reported on Jonathan Taylor, and it was week one, I said, look, there was a Tuesday trade deadline. There is no more Tuesday trade deadline. They're going to throw that in the ocean, and they're open to trading him. However, the Colts, their dream scenario is that Jonathan Taylor stays with the Colts, and he can pair with Anthony Richardson. I then talked about him again last week because he was coming off the pup, and I said they don't really have trade offers out there for Jonathan Taylor for what they're looking for. They were looking for a lot. But once again, their perfect scenario was that this would be repaired and Jonathan Taylor would have remained a Colt with Anthony Richardson. So they got what they wanted there.
I think it's a best case scenario for everybody. That kind of plays into this question from @GhostVader50, solid. Trade deadline's still a little ways away.
That's a while.
It's on Halloween, but this also seems like the time in the season where teams are maybe having to face facts about where they are in regard to maybe wanting to deal pieces. So this person is specifically asking about the Vikings trading Kirk Cousins, but in light of maybe if that's too far-fetched, are there any names that are up on your radar as far as teams that might be willing to part with assets and things like that?
Here's what really happens. Really, it comes down to like the week or two before the trade deadline. You start looking at teams saying, okay, this team, they're packing it in. They're going to start looking for the future. Usually with players who are in the last year of their contract.
Right.
Where a team's saying, okay, we're not in it, so let's get something for this guy because he's going to leave anyway. And that's where you've seen, the Von Millers and people like that trade at the trade deadline. And it's been a lot of, who else the Rams trade for last couple of years ago.
Odell
was. Odell was, I don't know, but he free? I think he was free, right?
Oh.
No, they did trade
for him. It was a trade.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
For the Browns, that's right. I've been hitting the head a lot, so I can. But usually it's with, you see these pass rushers with like Chubb from Denver, right?
Denver to Miami,
You see a guy that you're like, okay, we're not going to be able to re-sign him, but it usually happens really late, not right now. And then you also start looking, like, look, I'll tell you this. Like Sean Payton called me this morning and said, look, there's stuff out there that we're looking to start trading guys off. We're not. We traded one guy. It was just one guy we were looking to trade. We're not looking to trade all these guys on offense. We're not fielding calls for all these guys on offense. Now, let's see what happens as, this continues. And if the Broncos don't play well, do they change their mind? But it takes a couple more weeks for teams to decide that.
It is a great tidbit. Keep an eye on guys who are in the last year of their contract. Third question from Mary.
Jalen Ramsey, too. I was another guy with the Rams. Yeah.
That's right. Mary Davis says, how's Aaron Rodgers? Sure as heck looks like he's doing really well based on the Instagram post. I mean, guy's already doing rehab stuff. I mean, he couldn't have had surgery more than 2-3 weeks ago. It looks pretty encouraging.
Well, it looks encouraging what he's doing right now, but I can't tell you when he's going to run. I can't tell you when he's going to cut. I can't tell you when he's going to be able to plan. You can't just have an Aaron Rodgers go out there and say, okay, I can run a 40 or I can run a straight line. It's going to be a lot more, right? You have to have an Aaron Rodgers out there who's just going to be able to. What makes Aaron so great, one of the things that makes him so great, is his ability to extend the play. And, things break down. And it's like the first play goes away and it becomes the second play. And, defense drives him crazy. So he's not just a drop back passer who's going to sit there. And I know everybody and Aaron wants to say, okay, he'll be back this season. He's working to be back this season. But there's still a lot of variables to see whether or not that can happen. You're still a little bit away.
All right, last one from Los Ballin, which it's the nasty side of the business, unfortunately. Again, it is still early in the season, but are there any situations in terms of the hot seat, in terms of coaches?
I don't do hot seat. I'll tell you why. Because most of the time, everyone gets it wrong. So every year, you'll hear hot seat, and there'll be 15 guys on the hot seat, and 6 will get fired. Well, that's 11 other families that got affected, and think of that. And look, I have strong relationships with a lot of those coaches and their families, and see them. And I have over the years seen how much it affects their kids, and these kids don't sign up for that. So what I always do, I report when a guy is going to get fired, if he gets fired. I don't ever speculate that he is, because also look at Ron Rivera, Carolina. Everybody's sure he was getting fired. And then he put all his chips to the table, became Riverboat Ron, and then went all the way to the Super Bowl. Right? Marty Schottenheimer, for years, every year, he was supposedly getting fired. That was like 8 years in a row, right? And it didn't happen. And so all those years, I care about being right. I don't want to, as a reporter, the number one thing you should always concentrate on is being accurate. And if you're just throwing stuff up there that, well, this guy's on the hot seat or that guy's on the hot seat. Yeah, you could see right now, but I don't know what's going to happen. Look, Jim Fossil, when I was covering the Giants back in the day, same thing. He was done. And then he did this, I'm pushing my chips to the table, and we're going to win every game here on out. And they did. And they go to the Super Bowl, and he ends up saving his job. So I hate the hot seat stories because too often they're inaccurate.
No, it's a completely valid point.
Well, what are you going to ask about specifically there?
I mean, it's interesting you bring that up. I think the question is born, I think there's two situations that people are curious about right now. Washington coming off of not a wonderful performance against Chicago, and Las Vegas looking not particularly promising right now.
And Washington, it's valid because you have a new owner.
Right.
And even, look, a team could be doing great. Usually when you have a new owner in, they're going to want their own people in regardless. But it's up to Ron Rivera to show him, no, I'm the guy that you need.
I get why people ask the questions.
People always do. I just don't ever. Years ago, and I stopped years ago, and I think it was the Marty Schottenheimer thing. It was like every year for 8 years, Marty didn't get along with the GM up there, AJ Smith, and every year they put up the guy who was getting fired, and he would be like 13-3, and it was just like, it was a constant thing.
Sure.
And, I just saw how much kind of wore on him, his family and all that. But you saw, like I said, Ron Rivera, people had him in Carolina, and all of a sudden it's Riverboat Ron. It's totally different. And I'm trying to think now, like there was one year they were talking about John Harbaugh. If he lost a certain game, it was reported, if he lost a game in the middle of the season, we were doing a military show, so it was around Veterans Day. If he lost that game, he could be fired after that game. He won the game. John Harbaugh was coach for the next 8 years there. So that's why I hate the hot seat story.
I mean, look, coming from Dallas, it was an annual conversation around Jason Garrett. And somebody that's hapless right now is going to wind up putting 4 or 5 wins together when we get to the second half of the season. I get it. Something to keep an eye on. Awfully early for it. Jay Glazer, I dressed up for you, man. I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.